Hey folks, this is Kalani. One of the most asked questions since we started getting to the later half of our time in the Legion expansion has been what happens to our artifacts, these unique weapons of power which have so much history, so much lore, and so many stories being told of their greatness. Well, we're still not quite sure what's going to happen to those yet, but we do know that we won't be using them in the next expansion. But that doesn't mean the idea of an artifact isn't being carried forward. Magni Bronzebeard, the Diamond King, has been communing with the World Soul of Azeroth and reaches out to us in her name. The Heart of Azeroth is bestowed upon those adventurers who are brave enough to stand as the last line of defense, as the heroes of our world. So basically everyone gets one. Magni believes that the world is in dire trouble. The damage inflicted by the Burning Legion might actually be enough to spell doom for our world, and we're the only ones who can try and fix things. Obviously. As we carry the Heart of Azeroth with us, any of the crystallizing blood of Azeroth, the Azerite we happen upon, will empower the heart. It appears to be equipped in the neck slot, so if this does go ahead as planned, then instead of not equipping any new weapons all expansion, we won't be equipping any new necklaces, which honestly I'm fine with. You never see a necklace, so it has way less impact than changing your weapon. Part of the reason I'm excited for this whole system is that simple fact. Weapons will drop as loot once again, so we'll be swapping weapon models as we level up, and as we progress through the expansion, and I can't wait to see what new weapon models we have in store. The Heart of Azeroth will be the main focus of character power progression in Battle for Azeroth, fully replacing the artifact system we currently have. A similar amount of power will probably be locked behind upgrading and unlocking all of the heart secrets, but what of the traits that were in our artifacts? We don't have any specifics about how those abilities and passives will be handled yet, so we may get some of them, we may get none of them going into the Battle for Azeroth, but I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard redid a whole bunch of classes and specs again anyways, so it might not matter in the grand scheme of things. The Heart of Azeroth comes with a few new special bonuses though. As you gain more and more Azerite and level up your Heart of Azeroth, it will gain unique abilities, but that isn't where the true power of the heart lies. As it becomes more and more powerful, it will also unlock the hidden powers in other pieces of your gear. There's 3 slots which can be augmented with the power of your artifact: the helm slot, the shoulder slot, and the chest slot. Each of these pieces of gear will have their own unlockable powers. The way this is currently working is with 4 tiers of rings with a variety of abilities to choose from. The outer rings are more accessible, while the inner rings will require a higher leveled Heart of Azeroth. The available abilities will also be spread evenly between each type of armor, so expect to see the same ability on a variety of loot slots. You might be groaning and remembering the Netherlight Crucible and how the same relics could have vastly different talent choices and think this system would just be a source of frustration, but you can rest assured because each piece of gear has static ability choices. One type of helm will always have the same abilities, even across multiple difficulties. For example, if you had the item Helm of the Brave, it would have very specific ability choices, and regardless if you have a normal, heroic, or mythic Helm of the Brave, those abilities will always remain the same. We'll have access to the abilities from the Dungeon Loot Journal, so we can go in and see exactly which items provide which bonuses, so we can really go after the ones which change and affect the way we want to play. Where it gets interesting is that apparently while higher difficulty rewards have the same abilities, the power of those abilities is tied to the item level of the piece of gear, so you would always want to upgrade a normal piece to heroic or a heroic piece to mythic. There's no having to take it to a forge or somewhere else to check the abilities. A higher item level piece of the same gear will always be an upgrade. Hopefully Titan Forging will be reined in just a little bit, otherwise the right piece of gear getting a lucky Titan Forge could be even more ridiculous. Another cool feature of the Heart of Azeroth is that the power source is tied to your artifact, but most of the actual unlocks are in your armor. That means that when you swap armor pieces, you don't suddenly lose a whole bunch of progression. It's not like swapping specs in Legion, where if you hadn't put any artifact power into your off-spec weapon, you're suddenly way behind where you were in the other spec. Everything is tied to your necklace, so no matter what pieces of gear you swap around or end up equipping, there's never going to be any power digression because you'll never unequip that necklace. The source of your power is constantly progressing, so you will always get more powerful with time and effort, regardless of swapping specs, roles, or gear. That's a pretty fantastic change. Obviously that won't help you out all that much when it comes to alts, but that's to be expected. At least you won't have to keep up with multiple specs artifacts if this system launches as it's currently designed. So it looks like we'll have 4 rows of abilities to choose from for each of our slots, giving us a total of 12 abilities. We'll be able to pick one of several abilities for each row, and each row kind of has a theme. Once again, we'll have the choice of several DPS abilities together and several utility abilities together, kind of like talents. I don't think they would ever give you a choice between damage and utility on the same row, because that would be kind of a moot decision. Hopefully this will increase the variety of ways to play your given classes and specs, but eventually the numbers game usually wins out and the most optimal abilities will be discovered, but until then I'm looking forward to seeing how many different ways the abilities can work together to change how you play. So you use your Heart of Azeroth to empower your helm, shoulders and chest to gain powerful bonuses. Sounds simple enough, but how do we go about empowering the heart? Where does this Azerite stuff come from? Well, I mentioned Artifact Power 2.0 before, and it fits pretty darn well. Azerite will be available from pretty much every source that provides artifact power right now, so quests, world quests, PvP, dungeons, raids, world bosses, and of course the new types of content coming with the new expansion, island expeditions, and warfronts. Apparently the goblins and gnomes have created machines which allow us to pinpoint the location where the Azerite is spewing forth from the crust of Azeroth, so we'll be moving around and hunting down those prime Azerite locations. It seems like no matter what you do, you'll get at least a little bit of Azerite at the end, and apparently this time around we won't have a whole bunch of items crowding our inventory that we need to spam click to gain our resources. It sounds like Azerite is going to be all automatic and you just empower the heart without having to do anything special. Rejoice, the devs have heard our pleas. I imagine that the new types of content might be a bit more lucrative when it comes to Azerite, just to give them a bit of a push out the door. Both the island expeditions and warfronts look pretty fun, but we'll cover those in another video. So that's all the info we have about the new artifact, the Heart of Azeroth, and how it's going to work. How do you feel about all of this? Will you miss your artifacts? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.